What would you be willing to give up to win your greatest battle? Would you make a promise so desperate that it could cost you everything? What if that promise was made before God, irrevocable, unbreakable, and deadly? This is the haunting and heartbreaking story of Jephthah, a mighty warrior, a judge, a rejected son, and a man whose words sealed a fate he never imagined. A story of victory won at the highest cost, one that echoes through history as a solemn warning to us all. What drove him to make such a deadly promise? And what does his story reveal about the weight of desperation, the silence of God, and the cost of our words? Let's journey back to ancient Israel, a time of chaos and war, where men called judges rose to deliver their people. One such judge would rise from rejection to glory, but his triumph would be overshadowed by an unforgettable tragedy. The sun burned like a curse over the land of Gilead, where the air tasted of dust and desperation. For 18 years, the Ammonites had squeezed the throats of the Israelites, their chariots thundering across the eastern banks of the Jordan, their gods mocking the silence of Yahweh. The people had cried out to heaven, but this time the heavens did not answer. "You have chased after foreign gods," the Lord thundered, "so let them save you in your distress." Judges 10:13-14. And so the Israelites turned to the only weapon left in their hands, a man they had once despised. His name was Jephthah. Jephthah was born into hardship. His father Gilead was a respected man, but his mother, a prostitute. Jephthah grew up with the sting of rejection. His half-brothers, heirs to their father's legacy, had driven him into exile, sneering, "You will never inherit here. You are the son of another woman." Judges 11:2. Cast out from his home, he fled to the land of Tob, where he became the leader of a band of mercenaries, outlaws and fighters who lived on the fringes of society. He was a warrior, hardened by rejection and battle, but then fate took a turn. The Israelites were in grave danger. The Ammonites, a powerful enemy, waged war against them, seeking to reclaim lands they claimed as their own. The elders of Gilead, desperate for a strong leader, turned to the very man they had once rejected. "Jephthah, come and be our commander," they pleaded. "Lead us against the Ammonites." Judges 11:6. Jephthah, knowing the bitterness of his past, did not trust them easily. "Didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why come to me now when you're in trouble?" But the elders swore an oath. If he led them to victory, he would not just be their commander, but their ruler. Judges 11:9-10. Jephthah accepted. But before going to war, he made a terrible mistake, one that would haunt him forever. As he prepared to fight, Jephthah made a vow to the Lord. Perhaps he doubted his own strength. Perhaps he wanted divine assurance. Whatever his reason, he spoke words he could never take back. "If you give the Ammonites into my hands, then whatever comes out of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in triumph will be the Lord's, and I will offer it as a burnt offering." Judges 11:30-31. With that vow, Jephthah went into battle. The Lord granted him victory. The Ammonites were crushed, and Israel rejoiced. Jephthah had done the impossible. He had redeemed his name, but then came the moment of horror. As Jephthah returned home, his heart swelled with triumph. The people cheered. Victory songs filled the air. But then his blood ran cold. From the doors of his house came running his daughter, his only child, his joy, his future. She danced with tambourines, celebrating her father's victory, completely unaware that she had just stepped into the snare of his vow. Terror gripped Jephthah. He tore his clothes and cried out, "Oh no, my daughter, you have brought me down. I have made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break." Did he not consider that a human, his very family, could be the first to greet him? Had he spoken carelessly in the heat of the moment? His daughter, a young woman of great faith and courage, responded with a heart-wrenching submission. "My father, "You have given your word to the Lord. Do to me as you have promised." She asked only for 2 months to mourn her virginity, for she would never marry, never bear children, never know the joys of life. And then Jephthah did as he vowed. Did he really sacrifice his daughter? Some scholars debate whether Jephthah literally sacrificed his daughter or whether she was instead devoted to lifelong service in the temple, remaining unmarried. The text does not explicitly state that she was killed, but it does say he did to her as he had vowed. Regardless, the result was the same. Jephthah lost his only child because of an unwise and impulsive vow. Even though Jephthah is listed in the Hall of Faith, Hebrews 11:32-34, but his vow is never praised. Why? Faith doesn't erase folly. What lingers in the silence after a vow? The Israelites never forgot Jephthah's daughter. For centuries, young women retreated to the hills each year to mourn her, their voices weaving into a tradition called Yom Habat, the Day of the Daughter. Her name is lost, but her story whispers a warning. How far will we go to prove our worth? When God is silent, do we listen or fill the void with our own noise? And what happens when the cost of winning is everything we love? Jephthah's sword carved his name into history, but his daughter's tears etched a deeper truth. Some vows should never be made, some victories are not worth the price, and some silences are meant to be heard. Here are some lessons from Jephthah's vow. Be careful what you promise to God. Jephthah's story teaches us the weight of our words. How often do we make desperate promises only to regret them later? Trust God, not bargains. Jephthah did not need to make that vow. God had already chosen him as Israel's deliverer. His faith should have been in God's power, not in a deal. Reckless words have real consequences. Whether or not Jephthah physically sacrificed his daughter, the pain was undeniable. Our words shape our reality and can cause irreversible damage. God desires obedience, not rash sacrifices. The Bible repeatedly warns against making foolish vows. It is better not to vow than to make a vow and not fulfill it. Ecclesiastes 5, verse 5. Legacy of brokenness. Jephthah's story warns that unhealed wounds can lead to destructive choices. Here are some reflections. Should Jephthah have broken his vow to save his daughter? Would God have forgiven him? Have you ever made a promise in desperation that you later regretted? How did you handle it? How can we ensure that our words align with wisdom and faith? This story is a reminder that God does not require us to bargain with him. He asks for faith, obedience, and trust. Was Jephthah a hero or a cautionary tale? What vows are you making in desperation? Let's discuss. Drop a comment below. Have you ever regretted a promise? Like this video if it moved you. Share it with someone facing a tough choice. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Joint Heirs Bible Stories for more gripping Bible stories that challenge and transform. Hit the bell so you never miss the drama, history, and truth that shape our lives. Let's continue exploring the powerful lessons hidden in Scripture. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.